Howdy, y'all. Makal James Shadackle here, going to talk about some more movies, at least 3 or 4. I also might talk about the Oscars at the end of this. We'll see, because that just happened. Actually, let's talk about that first. We're going to talk about the Oscars, because that just happened. We did our Makal and Zatch on it. It was a lot of fun. And I think that it's going to be a funny video still, but I have to say they didn't really it wasn't that bad of a show this year. It's still the Oscars, it's still not really worth watching unless, for me, unless I'm heavily intoxicated and with friends. I could probably get through the whole thing just with friends. Me and Matt seem to be the only two who aren't capable of that. And I'm not even saying Matt isn't capable of that, but I'm not capable of that. But maybe I am. Maybe I should try to do one sober just for a change. Like next year, do the sober one. But then next year will come and I won't want to do that. So we'll see. Yeah, I think that it wasn't that bad. Jimmy Kimmel was really easy to stomach this time, and there's 3 possibilities for that. One, we talked over him a lot. I may have missed a lot of what he said in a lot of his bits. We were not listening to him that well. So that might be it. We just lack of attention. 2, they didn't use him too much. His opening was fucking long, but after that, I really don't remember him showing up that much. He wasn't that annoying. He has been very annoying in the past, but he was super tolerable, I think no host is still better because it just prevents you from wasting time. The show went over 30 or 40 minutes, and that probably wouldn't have happened if Jimmy Kimmel wasn't doing his little segments, but they were definitely a lot less obnoxious this year than they were in previous years, so him coming back wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And then the third possibility is he just didn't do that bad of a job. I remember him making a joke that I laughed at. And I don't remember what the joke was. I was really drunk, so keep that in mind. But I don't think that's ever happened before. I want to make, I really dislike Jimmy Kimmel. He's one of my least favorite celebrities. Aside from the criminals, the ones who've done really horrible stuff and aren't in the industry anymore. So some of which are still in the industry, but the really bad ones that even Hollywood's yeah, we can't have this person around anymore. In terms of people who are still working, he's one of my least favorite people. I think he's really unfunny. I think he's been a huge hypocrite. I just think his show is really irritating. He had Ted Cruz on one episode, and somehow Ted Cruz wasn't the least likable person in the room. And that's insane. I really can't stand the guy, but yeah, I laughed at something he said last night, or 2 nights ago, I should say. And I'm talking way too long about Jimmy Kimmel. I need to get on with this. Because the other thing I want to talk about was the actual awards, what won. That should be the main priority. But to be fair, we will have a whole video going over that, seeing reactions. I don't know when. We had so many 7 people joined for this one, and there were 5 different audio tracks because there were 2 people together in 2 different of the recordings. So, but it's gonna take a while to edit that. So. Yeah, Kimmel, what was the other thing I was going to say? And there was even a joke he made where I was okay, you know what? I didn't laugh at the joke, but props to you for making the joke. Normally when Jimmy Kimmel tries to do a call-out joke, it's annoying, but he actually went after HBO and with what they're doing, it's yeah, you know what? Good on you for making fun of that. I mean, there's literally movies on HBO Max that are nominated this year, but the joke was I'm glad that we're not... They're being so blatantly shitty that I'm glad we're not too afraid to make fun of them. If Jimmy Kimmel is willing to make a joke about that, then I think we're in a pretty good place of at least people are acknowledging how shitty this is. At least this isn't a little thing. People are acknowledging how bad this is. Because Kimmel, I think, will play it very fucking safe. So to see him make fun of them, it's okay. So yeah, he was fine this year. Honest to God, it's not funny. He's not a good host, but I mean, if he just kept coming back and he was acted like he did that night, completely inoffensive. I've got no real promise of it. I think there was one joke he made where I was fuck off, but it was one where in previous years it was everything he said. I don't have much issues if there, I think out of all the awards, the only one that really stood out to me as like, I don't know about that, was Jamie Lee Curtis. And in the call in our recording, you're going to see a lot of positive reception to that. I don't hate that she won, but I definitely don't, out of all the performances that were listed there, I definitely don't see her as the best one. Um, I'm going to butcher the names, but I would have much rather had, well, honestly, I think you could have had someone from Woman Talking just as a nomination, but that didn't happen. It's kind of weird of Women Talking because it's kind of hard to establish like a single main character in that they do share screen time together pretty well. But then you have the other girl in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I don't think she necessarily deserved it either, but I also think that she had a performance that required a lot more out of her. Just being on screen more and like a wider range of emotions. Jamie Lee Curtis was great. I liked her in the movie, but one of the best performances of the year? No. In fact, I was kind of rooting for the girl from The Whale. And again, these are actors that these are a lot of first time nominees. These are actresses that I'm not super familiar with. Everyone knows who Jamie Lee Curtis is. And maybe that's why she got it is just they were like, yeah, it's about time she gets one. I mean, she's been in a lot of beloved stuff. I don't want to take that away from her, but I think a lot of people were in support of it. I think a lot of people were against it too. Just because, better performances out there, but maybe it's just a seniority thing. Like, okay, she's been here long enough. She should win an Oscar. There you go. Yeah, the girl from The Whale, I mean, I loved her performance. Like I was absolutely rooting for her. But no, we're going with Jamie Lee Curtis, whatever. It wasn't like a super offensive win or anything. It wasn't like a Green Book level win. Editing actually went to the film with the potentially the best editing. There were other movies that would have been okay with winning that, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is a well edited movie. There was a lot of challenging edits too, like a lot of really fast paced editing, and that doesn't always mean best editing. A film's editing can be like a lot more subtle than that, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, like it was doing a lot of editing, but it all felt very natural. Like Elvis did a lot of editing too. Like there was a lot of it. There was a lot of special effects and weird edits they were doing on the screen. But a lot of them kind of felt like forced in, almost like you're watching a montage or a music video, even in scenes that aren't montages or, like I like how stylized Elvis was, but I don't necessarily think that the editing like blend in as well as it did with something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where yes, a lot of crazy shit is happening on the screen, but it always felt like it justified itself. It always felt like there was a purpose to it. Where Elvis, sometimes it was just like, wouldn't the shot look nicer if we did this with it instead of just show it? There's a shot where he's like speaking, he's doing a public speech and it shows like a reel of newspapers flipping by to like show the shot instead of just showing a shot of him speaking behind a podium. And it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, like the points for creativity, but why? What was the point of that? Is it just to show that time's passing by? Because that's kind of a weak reason, I think. But they do a lot of that in Elvis, and I think some of it works, and I think some of it's like, it's cool that you were able to do that. It's cool that you did something different with the shot, but I think film editing isn't just how much editing you do, it's how you use the editing to the film's advantage, and I don't think Elvis uses it to. I think Elvis just kind of does it for the hell of it sometimes, which I appreciate that more than what fucking Bohemian Rhapsody did, so it's not like, it's not like the worst thing ever. But yeah, so I kind of agree with Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is going to be its own video. I'm just doing the Oscars at this point. I thought I was going to talk about for 5 minutes, but I'm still going. Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Hell yeah, this is my favorite movie of the year. I think it was kind of the normie pick, but yeah, I mean, I think it's that way for a reason. I think that, Parasite kind of gave me some confidence that was going to happen, because I think that the Oscars will pick the favorite. I think there'll be times where they don't do that, but they'll pick Mr. Popular. I thought it was going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once or Top Gun, and I was leaning towards Everything Everywhere, both as what I want and as what I expected. But Top Gun Maverick wasn't going to surprise me, and it honestly wouldn't have made me angry either. It's not it's not like even really close to my favorite of the year, but there's respect for the craft in that movie, right? And it's like, It's different. It's not. God, I think this is what my friend Matt said in his video. Now I'm like about to repeat it. So credit to Matt for saying this. It's not different now, but it's different now. It's different from what's coming out now. 20 or 30 years ago, it would have been just like any other movie coming out, but it is something that stands out in this time period for sure. Um, and yeah, so I was okay. I was really happy with that one. Best actor, Brendan Fraser, absolutely. Paul Mescal, Colin Farrell, those would have been fine for me too. Glad that Austin Butler didn't win. He did not do a bad job. I liked him as Elvis, but it's just kind of, he did the voice well. He sounded like, he sounded kind of like Elvis. But I don't know, like, just aside from that, again, he did a good job, but I just don't think that's really a performance that needs to, it's just a biopic. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I have a hard time getting like too excited for those. It kind of just feels like you go over a bunch of footage, you find someone who kind of looks like like the real person. You find someone who can do the voice like close enough to the actual person. Um and that's noteworthy. That's interesting, but I feel like a lot of the steps are already done for you. Um where in everyone else's case that was nominated, that's not the case. Bill Nye is the only one. I did not watch Living. I had no interest in that, but maybe he was really good in that. Brendan Fraser absolutely deserved it. Would have been fine with Paul Mescal. Would have been fine with Colin Farrell. I was rooting for Brendan Fraser. Best supporting actor. I don't remember his name, but I was rooting for him. He was big in stuff like The Goonies and Indiana Jones 2. And it was really sweet seeing him have a little reunion with Brendan Fraser and then Harrison Ford a little bit later. He deserved it. He was the heart of that movie. I think out of all of the actors in that, I think he deserved an award most. Michelle, yeah, I was really happy that she won. I was rooting for Cate Blanchett. Cate Blanchett gave my favorite performance of the year, though. So it's like she was really high up there. And I just watched Tar before the Oscars. It was like one of the last movies I fit in. Tar and Babylon were the last two movies I fit in. But my God, if I didn't love every second of her performance. And I think she carried that movie. Not to say that that movie doesn't have other good aspects to it, because I think it's well shot. I think the score is good. I think the story is interesting, but it's a big character study. Like it's a movie that I'm saying that she carried the movie, but it's a movie where she's supposed to carry the movie. It's like it is a singular character that is going to keep you enticed the entire time, and she does it really well. She was my favorite performance of the year. Michelle Yeoh was probably like in the top 5. So I'm still happy she won. Because I do mean just blatantly performances. Yeah, I think Michelle Yeoh was probably in my top 5. I think it's probably her, Paul Mescal, Brendan Fraser, Cate Blanchett. Those are top 4. I don't know who the 5th person is. Antonio Banderas, I can't say his name. Antonio Banderas is Puss in Boots. We'll say that. Or John Mulaney as Jack Horner. One of those. Yeah. Yeah. So I was happy with that. Best director, Everything Everywhere. Yeah, why not? 2 directors. It's nice. And then there's other ones like cinematography. I don't know. All Quiet on the Western Front. We always make the joke where we say it's like, it's this year's Dunkirk, because the year we started was the year that Dunkirk won a bunch of stuff, where it's kind of like winning all the tech awards. So every year there's like a Dunkirk one that's just going to win every single one of those. And I kind of thought that was going to be Avatar this year, but they really only won visual effects. And then they lost. Then All Quiet on the Western Front lost editing. So All Quiet on the Western Front was the Dunkirk, but it wasn't the most Dunkirky Dunkirk to ever Dunkirk, because it missed the film editing award and it missed the visual effects award. So yeah, not too bad. I haven't All Quiet on the Western Front and Avatar are the only 2 Best Picture nominees I didn't watch because they looked really uninteresting to me. And I do mean to me. I'm not saying that they looked bad. I'm saying that they are probably not going to appeal to me. Avatar, I never even watched the first one. It's over 3 hours long. No, thank you. Some of the shots look really nice. Some of it looks really beautiful. Absolutely. And then All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't like a lot of war movies. There are some. I like Platoon. I like Apocalypse Now. it's not impossible for me to not like a war. It's not impossible for me to like a war movie. I don't like. I feel like more and more people are turning on this movie lately. I loved Forrest Gump growing up, and I mean that's not a war movie, but there's like, you know, I'd say like a quarter of it is a war movie, and I like those scenes. Um, why do people not like Forrest Gump anymore? Is it because Tom Hanks is playing a disabled person and people don't like that anymore? I don't know. I love Forrest Gump, but I grew up on it, so I guess that's part of it. Uh, or is it just people think it's a boring movie? I mean, I guess that's fair enough. It's just kind of like going through a guy's life. It's definitely, I would argue it's probably overrated, but I like Forrest Gump. I don't know. I thought it had personality. I like Lieutenant Dan. I like the story it's trying to tell. It might just be there's better, like it's a movie that's trying to take on so many different things at once. And there's so many movies that have come out after it or even before it that handled each individual subject a lot better. Like there's better war movies out there. There's better movies about abuse. There's better movies about about the disabled. There's better movies about history. There's better movies about racism. Like Forrest Gump is really trying to take on a lot. And I think there's even better movies that try to take on a million different subjects like Forrest Gump does. So I think that's really all it probably is maybe it was a movie that was good for its time, but nowadays it's not seen in the same light. But maybe I'm just around people who don't like it. Maybe all of my friends hate Forrest Gump, but a majority of the world still likes it. I don't know. This turned into the Forrest Gump discussion. Animated picture. I like that Pinocchio one. I still am not going to give the Academy that much credit, because I don't trust them. It's the same thing with SpiderVerse. SpiderVerse, it was cool that SpiderVerse won. SpiderVerse deserved to win. Pinocchio, it's cool that it won. It deserved to win. But Disney likes to award themselves that one, and they find the one year where they can make an exception. Every once in a while, it's like, okay, here's where the year we're not going to win, just so people don't think we're full of shit, but we're winning the next 3 or 4 years. Because they do that. They absolutely do that. Spider-Verse, it still benefited them because it's Spider-Man. It's the MCU. It promotes Marvel. It promotes them. Pinocchio, kind of Disney. I mean, I don't think it's going to make anyone go and watch the live action Pinocchio movie that came out that year or anything like that. So I don't, that's a little bit of a stretch, but what isn't a stretch is to say that the Academy loves Del Toro. They love him. They keep nominating his movies. He's won Oscars. He just, won again for Pinocchio. The Academy loves Del Toro, and rightfully so. I love Del Toro too, but I guess what I'm saying is the animated picture has never surprised me, and I want it to surprise me just one fucking year. Spider-Verse, that was the year, like, okay, they're not going to give it to themselves this year because they can give it to Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man promotes the MCU. Okay, this year, and then like next year it's Disney, year after that it's Disney, year after that it's Disney. This year it's okay, we're not going to give it to Disney, but we're going to give it to Pinocchio, and we're the Academy and we love Del Toro. It's like, it's just, I want to be fucking surprised. If Mitchell's would have won last year, far from my favorite movie. I liked Encanto's more, but I would have been happy just because it would have surprised me. If Puss in Boots won, would have surprised me. Would have been it was my favorite too. I actually liked that more than Pinocchio. But Pinocchio is fine. Pinocchio deserves it. It's one of the best looking stop motion movies ever. I'm not saying this to talk down Pinocchio. In fact, I love Del Toro's speech. I love that he won, and I love his speech. I just want these fucking people to do something that surprises me in this category one year. Puss in Boots and Marcel would have surprised the hell out of me. The Sea Beast would have surprised the hell out of me too, but I would have laughed my ass off because I'm sorry. My friend Zach loves that movie. I thought it was like the most nothing thing ever. There were scenes in it that were fine, but like at the end of the day, it's like, why did you nominate this instead of Wendell and Wild? Wendell and Wild like had so much personality. This is like actually kind of dull. I get why people would like the Sea Beast. It's a fun movie. It's like an innocent little adventure. Like there's nothing really wrong with it necessarily. Okay, I can name some things wrong with it, but I won't go into it. Because I understand why people like it. I don't understand why it's nominated. I think The Bad Guys deserved it more than the Sea Beast. I don't even necessarily think The Bad Guys deserved it. Wendell and Wild absolutely deserved it. So yeah, is that everything? Is there anything else? I mean, there's other categories I didn't talk about, but I don't really need to talk about every category. Uh, Funny video on the Oscars coming out later. I'm gonna take a break and maybe even talk about more movies today. I wanted to talk about movies and the Oscars for this one, but we just got stuck on the Oscars conversation. They did a decent job this year. The RRR performance was a lot of fun. That's the first time I ever enjoyed a musical performance at the Oscars. That they were just so much energy to them. A good variety with the music too. I did think that two of the performances were not very good. I won't even name drop them. I'll be nice. But good variety. Like we didn't have like a bunch of Encanto songs this year, a bunch of Disney songs, so that was cool. Um, I liked this year better than the other years.